Oh, the host meeting. Oh.
All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started. This webinar will be recorded and shared out with you all in a couple days, but we will go ahead and get started. So if we want to head on to the next slide, we'll share that. This is the third webinar in our series of webinars. This is intended to prepare you for your AFS experience by providing you with information and resources, intercultural tools, practical tips, self-reflection that we think that will help make the most of your experience in another country and culture. So this checklist you're seeing right now, it's kind of mirroring your dashboard. It's a handy way to track all your preparation steps. The arrow there is going to show you kind of where we are right now on our journey. All right, and then next we're going to share our agenda with you. So in this webinar, we're going to discuss about AFS, go over some resources and material, talk about the host family or dorm life, depending on your program, the school life and preparation, language acquisition, some travel and visa, and support on programs. And then we'll end it with some questions if there are any. Some tips then for this call. Obviously, we love your questions. Please include them in the chat. We'll try to get to some, or we'll hold some for the end if we will be answering some of those throughout. If you're having any technical difficulties, please use the chat feature and let us know. But as I mentioned, this will be recorded and shared. This webinar is going to cover information about general AFS programming. It will not be focused on country-specific details. That will come later. In the programming, other webinars will be a little bit more specific to your country or program you're going on. And then, like I said, we will have a Q&A at the end. But again, use the chat feature to send questions throughout the webinar. And we'll either try to answer them throughout, or we'll touch on them throughout the webinar and then answer the remainder questions at the end. All right, so a little bit about your facilitators. We have our 3 study abroad specialists that you have been working with one of us, Jennifer, Aaron, and myself, Carly. A little bit about myself is I studied abroad in South Africa, Costa Rica, Italy, Honduras, to just name a few, during my undergraduate and graduate programs. And actually this summer I will be leading one of our Spain summer programs to Valladolid, so I'm very excited about that. We also have our senior manager, Parker, as well as our senior director, Caitlin, and joining our call today with myself is Adriana, who I'll let introduce herself a little bit.
Sure. Thank you, Carly. So hello, everyone. Great seeing you in this number on the webinar today or this evening. My name is Adriana Miladinovic, and I'm a Senior Study Abroad Manager for Visas, Scholarships, and Diversity Initiatives. I've been with AFS for about 10 years, and I used to work in different roles in our support department. And most recently, for the last few years, I've been a member of our study abroad team. I was born and raised in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and in a way had my own cultural experience when I moved to the US, which is now a while ago. And in addition to that, I studied abroad in Indonesia in college, and with AFS, I had an opportunity to travel to Germany, to the Philippines, Costa Rica, China, and be a part of our study abroad experiences to some extent as well.
Awesome, thank you. So it's a little bit about our staff who you've been coordinating with throughout your application journey, but we want to hear about you. So in the chat, please share your name, where you are now, what state you're coming from, where you're going, and anything you're looking forward to on your program. Also, if you want to rename your Zoom name title to like your first name, dash the state you're in, dash the country you'll be traveling to. You can meet some people in your programs, get to know some people. But yeah, we want to hear from you. Tell us a little about yourself in the chat and what you're looking forward to about your study abroad program. All right, while you're adding that to the chat, we're going to go into our About AFS section. And and I will turn that over to Adriana to share some history about AFS and our mission.
Sounds good. Thanks again, Carly. So, as Carly said, we wanted to share a little bit about the AFS history and mission. To make it more fun, we'll ask everyone also to participate in our quick pop-up quiz. So, as I read out the questions, let's hear your guesses or your answers. Either you can write them in the chat. In addition to introducing yourself, I know I can see there's a lot of going on in the chat right now. I love it. So everyone can see where everyone is located in the US and what program you are going to. But I would appreciate if you also give a thought to these upcoming questions, or you can feel free to unmute yourself and basically say the answer out loud. So it's not hard, I promise. And we only have a few questions to go. The first question would be, what does AFS stand for? And again, feel free to write your answers in the chat or unmute yourself and share the answer with everyone on the call. American Field Service, American Field Service. I am seeing a lot of American Field Service answers, and that is the correct answer. Great job, guys. And I think as we go through the rest of the questions, it will make more sense why American Field Service. So the next question is, what did AFS do during World War I and World War II? Let me hear you. Ambulances, provided ambulance assistance. They were neutral medics, medical assistance, ambulance, offered jobs, do community work, community infrastructure, provided medical aid. I am really impressed with everyone's knowledge already about AFS history, because most of you are right. And AFS began as a volunteer ambulance service during the World Wars, attending to the wounded on both sides of the conflicts. However, when the wars ended, they moved on to something else. So the next question is tied to that. What year did the AFS exchange program begin? We have Scarlett saying 1947, 46, 47, 46, 47. This is really great. 47 is the correct answer. AFS exchange programs were founded in 1947 to continue building one-on-one relationships that tear down walls and build bridges between cultures. The volunteer ambulance drivers basically created studying abroad as a concept to prevent wars from happening. And this leads us into our last question, which is, what is AFS-USA mission today? Can everyone hear me? To create global citizens, create global scholars, and build international relations, world peace, to create global citizens. Well, I also think I revealed the answer, but I don't think that was the prompt to you to give all these correct answers. I think all of them are correct. AFS USA empowers people to become globally engaged citizens by delivering meaningful intercultural experiences that provide the knowledge and skills needed to help create a more just and peaceful world. So great job, everyone, and thank you for participating in this part of presentation.
All right, we are going to jump into some resources and materials. So for our next steps, kind of where we are at in the process right now. Perfect. So right now you should be getting, for our summer programs, you'll be getting some travel information if you haven't already. This includes like your flight information for our summer programs. Some programs are starting to get their visa instructions sent by Adriana. If you haven't, those are coming soon. If your program requires visas, for your passports, if some of us are still receiving or waiting to receive our passports, making sure as soon as you do receive your passport, your new passport in the mail, that you're updating your application with that. There should be a task there to do that. If not, reach out to your study abroad specialist once you receive your new passport, and we can open that up so you can upload that information and the copy of your passport. Attending additional webinars like this one. We have some other webinars coming up towards the end of this month that we'll share at the end of this presentation. And also starting your student learning journey courses that will be in your AFS dashboard, and we'll share where you can find that in the next few slides. But then from now, from June then to departure, you'll be getting host family information. Some are starting to come in, especially for our summer programs that have host families, but you'll start to be getting those within the next month throughout your departure. We'll be sharing travel information for our year and semester programs as we get those flight informations. You're going to continue to work on your visa applications and that process, completing your student learning journey and online pre-departure orientation module. For our year and semester, we have that health form addendum. We'll get on that information in the next few slides about where you can find that and a little bit more information about that. And also attending your local pre-departure orientation. Some of our AFS volunteers in your local area set up local pre-departure orientations. Majority of the time, these are in person. We highly encourage attending them. You get to meet AFSers in your area who are also studying abroad this cycle. So that's kind of what your next steps look like currently, and looking June through your departure date. And then our next slide, I will pass that on to Adriana, where she'll share some intercultural learning with you all.
Sounds good. Well, intercultural learning is deeply embedded in study abroad AFS experiences, and by living in a foreign country, being completely immersed in perhaps for you, a brand new culture, you will undergo personal transformation and growth. You'll have an opportunity to develop or improve your interpersonal communication skills by having an opportunity to communicate with more diverse groups of people. You will develop knowledge, intercultural knowledge, and knowledge about your particular culture, be it different communication styles, be it different conflict resolution styles, and etc. And by participating in the program, you will also develop global awareness, and you'll be able to empathize with people from diverse and thrive in collaborative cross-cultural experiences. So before departing on the program, we are encouraging you to also participate in online component of intercultural learning, which we call the student learning journey. And student learning journey within AFS Study Abroad Experience really encompasses pre-program and on-program intercultural learning. So we all invite you to participate in the online modules. You will be enrolled in this component of the student learning journey. And that is a blended learning course that allows you to begin this international aspect of your experience before you go abroad. The modules consist of self-directed learning aspects, activities, videos, quizzes, and the reflection forum. So participants will also have an opportunity to connect with the other AFS students from around the globe in real time during the series of webinars. All right, I'm gonna take a step back again. And in addition to the online pre-departure learning modules, you'll be invited to orientations that we strongly encourage you to attend. And if your local volunteer team in the US is offering one, there will be local pre-departure in-person orientation that we invite you to attend. The intercultural learning will continue once you go on program, and you will also have an opportunity to get an advanced certificate. All this information is coming to you via email from our learning and orientations department. So please do take time to be a part of this pre-program learning experience as well. I also wanted to share a little bit about other resources available to you. All of these resources are standing resources on your AFS dashboard that we invite you to refer to frequently. Some of these resources are travel FAQs, country and program resources. From here, you also can access all information on AFS student learning journey that we just talked about. And from here, through this little tab that says Study Abroad Health and Safety, you also will have access to a pretty new or updated resource for students and parents that is also available only to the students who have been accepted into the program. This is where you'll find your important information on travel as well. We'll talk more about it. And then each of you, depending on the country that you are going to, you will have a lot of resources specific to your destination country. So we think this is a great place, one-stop shop, so to speak, for a lot of information that you are probably looking for. So please keep an eye out of it. And I wanted to mention also medical guides, super important, as well as general participant guide that kind of covers general tips and aspects of the study abroad experience. Next, we'll talk a little bit about host family or dorm life, depending on your program destination. So as you might know, majority of our year and semester academic programs are host family-based programs. And we want to let you know that our host families come in all shapes and sizes, and that the host families are volunteers, and they are in this experience for the same or similar reasons like you. They would like to expand their knowledge about your culture, about the foreign culture, build new relationships for life. And host families are identified by our hosting partners in the AFS network, be it a volunteer or staff, and the host families need to complete their host family applications and have a interview and be vetted in a similar way that you go through the application. Parts of your applications are then shared with potential host families, and our hosting partners are looking to match you with the host family that has similar interests like you, and basically to find potential mutually enriching relationship that again may become your, and we hope it will become your second family for life. Many host families learn about AFS through word of mouth or have connection to the organization in some way. Some host families have already hosted, some are first-time families, some maybe participated in the AFS program themselves long time ago, or they had their child going or studying abroad already, or are preparing. So they're all kind of these intersecting relationships in the huge AFS network around the world. And that being said, I think it's important to mention that some of the host families may just commit, especially those new families that are trying to also get a feel for this experience. Maybe a welcome families and only commit to host for a limited period of time. Some of those do convert during the program experience into what we call permanent host families, and some may be tabled that for the upcoming years. A lot of host families are returning host families and have hosted multiple times. This means that some of you may have more than one family during the program, although that's less common. How and when you will receive your host family information? So all of you on the call been accepted by AFS into your respective programs, and that's when our hosting partners start a search for mutually enriching host family placement. Once host family is identified, AFS will share your host family information and application with you via email, and it will also appear on your AFS dashboard. Most students do receive their host family information in the 4 weeks leading up to the departure, but some may get it sooner, and we will share the information for the host family with you as soon as we receive. If we receive the host family information from our partners, we'll make sure to pass it over to you in no time. Again, I want to emphasize that host families want to learn about your culture and and treat you as a member of the family. So we encourage you to engage with them during the program by participating in family activities, to share your culture in the same way they are sharing their own culture with you. Before the program, we encourage you to take initiative to contact your host family once you have the host family information. And sometimes they may reach out to you first, and we also encourage you to learn more about host family culture and dynamics in the welcome booklet available in the resources that we were talking about earlier, and to consider little gifts that you could bring for them, be it local snacks, magnets, to name a couple that you can see on our screen. And remember that naturally, every AFS host family and experience is really unique, depending on the host family itself and your relationship with them. Some of you, and this in particular refers to our summer programs, may be or will be having your study abroad experience in a dorm campus setting, which is a little bit different. Some of these programs, for example, Spain summer language program or France summer language program, if any of you on the call are going to any of these programs, are also having students from other countries in the world and in Europe participating in the programs. So in these programs, you will likely be sharing your room with a couple of other students, and AFS prefers that those students are from different countries. So not only that you'll be learning about the culture and language of the country that you are going to, but also you'll have an opportunity to learn about some other cultures, branch out, get outside of your comfort zone and your bubble, so to speak. And again, build perhaps some other relationships for life with the students from other countries. So this is your opportunity to get out there, to make friends, be an ambassador of United States, of AFS, of your culture. We encourage you to show an effort in this part, and to always be respectful, and to think about little things such as leaving your room clean, and showing consideration and respect for your roommates. I think that's about it when it comes to your host family or dorm placements. I'll pass it over to Carly when it comes to school life.
Yes. So if you are participating in a summer program or a year and semester program that has the school element aspect, there are a few summer programs that have that, but for the most part, our year and semester programs, some information about preparing for school. Obviously, this is the setting where most of your program will take place. We do recognize that it can be hard, but it is very rewarding to have this cultural school experience. As you know, AFS is an immersion experience, meaning that you'll be placed in a local high school that does offer an authentic opportunity to connect with local peers. And we do know this takes effort. You'll be learning your school lessons in the native language of your country. So some things to get you more involved. We suggest like joining clubs, saying yes to those opportunities, and be prepared to present something about your culture in the U.S. If called upon. They obviously want to get to know you and learn about where you come from and where your culture, just like you are learning from them. We do recommend bringing a laptop with you on program to help with your homework, and just trying as much as you can. We'll get a little bit more in the next slide about the language acquisition, but we do recognize that your program your school will be in the native language, and that will take time. So we have some tips in the next slide. We'll get to that in a second about that. But more importantly, looking at school credits. I know some students have already reached out about school credits. So AFS cannot guarantee that your credits will be accepted. This is up to your U.S. school and solely determined by your high school here in the U.S. AFS participants, you're placed in different schools all over the world, and their school system may look very different, may have different course offerings, and you might be placed in like a different level than what you're used to in your U.S. school. So some suggestions we have what to do if you are looking at your school credits is to talk to your guidance counselor. In the help and learning slide that we had a few slides back, there is a host school FAQ sheet. We recommend bringing that to your counselor. It kind of outlines, basic questions to ask your counselor, and helpful information to kind of guiding that conversation with your counselor. We recommend keeping all records of your classes, your grades, and your coursework that you take abroad. Some things to consider also, if maybe your credits will not transfer to the U.S. to your U.S. school, is to take some summer classes with your U.S. school, take some electives, or customize this your future schedule so that you can stay on track. When you get to your host school, it's important to talk to the officials there to see what type of documentation that they are willing and able to provide upon your return home. This will be important because maybe your guidance counselor in the U.S. Says that in order to accept your credits, we would need a document such as this. So when you arrive at your host school, talking to those officials to see if they're able to provide a documentation such as what your U.S. school requires to be able to provide on your return home. Obviously, this like a diploma or a certificate is not always guaranteed. So it's very important to talk with your officials at your host school when you arrive, what they will be able to provide. So in the next slide, we'll talk about that language acquisition. Obviously, like I said, your school classes will be taught in the local language, and we do recognize that language learning does take time. The teachers in your host school are very aware that you are an exchange student and you are learning a new language. So what they want to see out of you is putting in the effort, making improvements. It's okay to make mistakes, but trying and putting in that effort is really what they are looking for. Really relying on your host family as support, the peers you meet, because they are your best tutors. They are natives, native speakers. So they will be your best tutors while in country and learning the language. We do recommend obviously studying as much as you can before. There's a lot of resources out there, a lot of apps, a lot of, different softwares and guides, watching shows in your country's language if there's some out there, reading the news in your country's language. There's a lot of opportunities to start practicing and start learning the language. We do have that cultural, the language resource on Cultural Trek in your help and learning guides. When on program, we do recommend to avoid using that comfort of communicating in English on social media, television, music, really equating yourself into the local language, into the local news, and doing that in your host country's language. Obviously, it does take time to adjust and immerse yourself into a language experience. It will be tiring at first, having everything in the host country's language that you're not used to experiencing every day is going to be tiring, but ultimately, in the end, rewarding. So we do recommend practicing ahead of time and really leaning on your host family and peers that you meet to guide you through this process. And there's also then a language proficiency pre-assessment aspect of it for a few of our programs that Adriana will touch on a little bit about that and what that means for those programs.
Sure. So for selected programs or better said languages, we are adding an additional benefit, and that is language proficiency pre-assessment testing. We are currently offering the testing for the following languages: Arabic, Chinese, Mandarin, French, German, Hindi, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Portuguese, Russian, Spanish, and Thai through the so-called Apple platform. So if your program qualifies, depending on your destination country, you will see a to-do item on your dashboard to complete a pre-assessment with all the instructions and deadlines. Depending on your language level, some students will be invited to take a pre-test prior to your program departure. And then once you complete the language assessment, you will receive a score which explains your proficiency level within the language. So this testing is not available for summer programs. And this is a computer-based, just to give you an idea. I trust many of you have perhaps received to do or tasks on your dashboard more information, but this is a computer-based assessment that is supervised by a parent guardian and taken home at the culmination of an applicable AFS study abroad experience. Carly,
Right.
do you want to talk a little bit about next steps?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
So for our next steps, these next steps are looking at our year and semester students only. You'll see on your dashboard, as previously mentioned, the language proficiency pre-assessment is there. Your review and save country resources are there, and then there will be this submit your health updated form. So for the health form addendum, this is required for all of our AFS participants on the year and semester program. This form is available on your dashboard. However, it must be only completed within 3 to 6 weeks prior to your program departure and uploaded to the dashboard. So if your program, say, departs on August 1st, you can't have that form completed by your doctor before 6 weeks before your program. So see where your program departs. 6 weeks out from that is when you can start and have your doctor complete that form and upload that form, and it must be due no later than 3 weeks prior to your departure deadline. So that's that window of when to complete this form and to upload this form. This form will provide an update to AFS to confirm that there are no changes to your health since the original health form was completed. If there are any changes to a participant health, it must be reported on this form and to us immediately. Because as per the AFS medical policies, a change in health history could result in a change to your program status. You may obviously see that task already, but again, please don't complete this early. For some of you, wait till that at least that 6 week before your departure date to have that completed and submitted. And again, this is not required for any of our summer program participants, just our year and semester students. However, the next steps slide for our finances, this does pertain to all of our programs, all of our students. So the AFS program fee, it must be paid in full no later than 4 weeks prior to your departure. And also to check out some of our resources, you'll see in the Help and Learning. There's some fundraising resources, also something called Sponsor an AFSer, which is very helpful for our students. If you are still looking at some funding, our national scholarship application deadline has passed, but there may be some local AFS teams may have some partial funding available, and they can let you know if you qualify. But as I mentioned, the Sponsor an AFSer is a really great way to crowdsource funding, and all that collected funds through your Sponsor an AFSer goes directly towards your program fee. If you do have any questions, please, about your finances, about your program fee, please contact the participant finance. Their information is on your AFS invoice, but we'll also have their contact information at the end of this webinar too. So now we're going to move on to the big question about visas, and Adriana will share an overview of visas, kind of a general overview of visas, and I'll let her take over for that.
Sure. I just wanted to mention before I dive into the visas, I've been seeing a lot of questions in the chat. That's really great. I tried to answer some of them. However, we'll try to get to the rest of those at the end. I'll try to keep up. But I'll talk a little bit about visas now. So please be patient, and hopefully we can cover that or direct you to the right source of this information as we collaborate across the departments. Visas. This is the time of the year when the students are accepted into the program, and of course, the next question or some of the questions that are coming up are related to travel and to visas. So AFS will provide visa guidance to all of you for all of countries, and we are in the process of rolling out those visa guidelines. Some of you have already received visa guidelines, and some of you will be receiving the visa guidelines in the upcoming weeks. We work closely with each AFS partner to collect most up-to-date information, to make sure that visa information on the visa processes and the requirements are up to date, or to be able to anticipate any potential delays or challenges. We encourage you to get on your visa tasks and start working on the process as soon as you receive the visa guidelines. We recognize there's a lot of information in those guidelines, and there are hyperlinks to other documents with even more information. Everything that we've written there is super important. Our visa guidelines have grown and expanded over time. Every time when we learn something new, something about potential challenge, something about what the consulates or foreign governments, immigration offices are requiring for, we made sure to include in those visa guidelines. I've been working with visas for over 3 years now, of course, in collaboration with the rest of our team. And I can say that the most of the questions that I receive about the visas are already answered in the visa guidelines. So I cannot stress enough how important it is to bookmark them, to refer to them often, and not to just, put it aside just like another email, one of many emails that I'm sure you receive from AFS and from other sources. As mentioned, AFS will provide the guidelines, but it is the responsibility of each participant and their families to apply for their own visa and follow any specific instructions provided by your destination country's consulate, embassy, or visa processing agency. The visa requirements often change without notice. Sometimes the websites are not up to date. The information that we perhaps received a month ago from our partner or from the consulate has been changed. So and you'll find this guidance in the information that you receive from us in writing. We recommend everyone, when wherever possible, to connect with the consulate or the embassy over the phone and over the email, or both. It's good to put everything in writing for them to try to obtain most up-to-date visa information. Some countries have visa processes easier than the others. Some may have very lengthy and complex visa processes. We've also noted that in the guidelines that you received, we've given you a general timeline known to us as it refers to the visa processing for your own country. So I feel confident that that's a good rule of thumb to give you an idea how fast you need to work towards the end goal, that is applying for your visa and having it processed and issued. A lot of visa applications are contingent on your host family and school placement in your host country. Which means after the host family and the schools are identified and the placement is officially finalized on the side of the hosting partner, they will need to collect what we call visa support documents, send them to us, and then we'll send them to you. In some cases, these documents can be in email, electronic form. In some cases, they're still required to be hard copies, so they mail it to us. We reorganize them, we disseminate them to you. So this is an important part to remember. While we ask you to start working on the parts of the visa process that you are able to by yourself, that is verifying the requirements, collecting required documents, working with your consulate to understand the process for applying, be it sending the visa application by mail or scheduling an in-person appointment, or some consulates offer both options, you will have to ultimately wait for these visa support documents to receive from AFS so that you can submit them with the application. This is because for the most of study visas, the foreign governments want to verify that indeed you have been admitted into an educational institution officially, and especially in the case of minors. Someone is responsible for you, that you have proper accommodation, etc. And on that note, most of the countries will require some sort of parental consent, parental authorization, power of attorney. They have different names for to accompany the visa application. Sometimes there might be, there might be delays in visa processing. This how long it will. Let me step back and say that we collect information and have experience from the past program cycles, how long it takes on average for a visa for each country to be processed. However, this is really also specific to a particular consulate in the US, and perhaps just even their workload at the time, what time of the year is, how busy they are with this particular type of visa, with other visa applications. So anything you can do from your end while you're waiting for the visa support documents from AFS, I would encourage you to work on it. So once you have these documents, you can just go ahead and apply. You will not be, for the most part, those who need to obtain visa in the US will not be able to depart on program if they have not received the required visa. And we ask that visa is in hand, be it a PDF document for some countries. Most commonly, it's an actual stamp in your passport, that you have your visa in hand 5 business days prior to departure. Otherwise, we'll need to discuss and consider making alternative travel arrangements, because there are a lot of moving pieces when it comes to travel logistics. You will all have, if it applies to you, if you're obtaining visa in the US before departure, or if you are required to, you will have a visa to do task on your dashboard to upload a scan of your visa once you receive. I am your person for all things visa, and we encourage you to utilize sending visas at AFS-USA.org email. I'll be happy to connect with any of you, and I'm sure I will as we go throughout the process over the phone to provide additional guidance, to go down the list of the visa documents, because every country is unique, and each particular consulate way of working and requirements might also be unique. So we are here to provide the guidance as much as we can. The next, after visa, we wanted to touch a little bit on the logistics. Let me see how we are on time. So I think, yeah, we are good on that part. As Carly, I think, mentioned earlier, our travel team books international flights approximately 6 to 8 weeks prior to your departure. International flights are booked based on international routing, availability, and under criteria established by each host country. Our travel department is running a huge operation, not only coordinating international travel for study abroad applicants from the US, but also managing over 1,000 students arriving each year on academic program cycle to the US. So this being said, they work with specific travel agencies that provide, in some sense, more security and more flexibility. Excuse me. When it comes to running these huge operations. Our travel team is looking at travel options from what we call international departure gateways, which are major cities in the US, such as New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Miami, and in some rare cases from a regional airport. So that means that participants may have unique flight plans. Flight itineraries are booked to the arrival airport and within arrival window outlined by the hosting partner. So again, similarly to AFS-USA side, the host country, AFS staff and volunteers are running a pretty big operation, coordinating everything, and they will greet you upon arrival. And you will be taken care of and receive guidance on your domestic travel in your host country. In some cases, if the host family lives close, they might be the ones greeting you right away and picking you up and taking you home. So this differs. Once your international flight has been available, for some of you, it has already been available. For some of you, it's still in making, so to speak. Our travel will email you a travel notification, which will include not just detailed information on your international travel itinerary, but also resources about the travel, and will give you instructions how to align and coordinate your domestic portion of travel. For some of you, that domestic portion of travel actually means flying domestically to the international departure gateway, and for some it might be a short ride to that airport, so it differs. So as you also can see on the screen on the slide, host countries have 2 or more predetermined arrival dates for your program. And if you're not placed with a host family within a certain time frame, or 1 to 2 weeks of your international departure date, or you cannot travel for whatever reason, or there's a delay with your visa issuance, you will have an opportunity to travel on what we call within AFS a second arrival date. And this is typically 3 to 4 weeks after your current arrival date. So we work closely at that stage, of course, pre-departure, when it comes to this last piece of pre-program planning to keep you updated. And again, I cannot stress enough how important it is to read all the guidance and instructions in these travel notifications beyond the details of your international flight, because it has really, really some great and valuable information for you there. I guess one last thing that I'll mention is that domestic travel in the US to your international departure airport is not included in your program fee, and this would be your responsibility. And as previously mentioned, your travel notification will provide instructions how to coordinate this flight. So we ask everyone to wait on booking any domestic travel until they have their international travel itinerary confirmed. And this is just how your departure travel notification email will look like. Again, drawing your attention to travel resources on your AFS dashboard, such as travel FAQs, a lot of great information there. And also your international flight itinerary will be available on the AFS dashboard in addition to the email notification. We encourage you strongly to review the luggage restrictions, and not just in your take-home bulletin, but also especially with your airline on your airline's website or by calling them. AFS-USA does not cover any luggage fees, and generally we recommend you not to overpack. It's easier to travel, and also after arrival to your host country, if you are needing to coordinate the domestic travel. And program support. I'm sorry, I have a feeling I'm losing my voice. There's been a lot of talking. But let me also share a little bit about support on program. Once you depart for the program, your point of contact will transition from study abroad department, that is the team that you've been working with and that we introduced to you at the beginning of this webinar, to our participant support department. And participant support department consists of our colleagues that are experts on providing on any type of support to our students while they are on program. They have a lot of experience in this area, be it assisting you and helping you with some aspects of cultural adjustment or cultural shock, or be it handling some emergencies, for example, and unexpected medical emergency. We do have a chain of communication, and that we ask all program participants and their families to utilize, which is as follows. You can see a little chart on your screens. Let's start from the other end. That is you and your host family abroad will have a local contact person, which is usually a volunteer, an AFS volunteer, and in some cases, AFS staff. It may have different names, liaison, counselor, or some other title. We use liaison in the US, so I'll stick with it throughout the presentation. And this person would be your first point of contact, and for your family, for anything needed, you can always turn to. You'll receive their contact information. You should be able to meet with them in person, in addition to your liaison. To your own support contact person, there might be other local volunteers available in the host community, depending on the host country and the volunteer team structure. Uh, these support volunteers that are close to you are working closely with AFS partner staff. Some partners may also have the whole special support department or other staff definitely designated for this purpose, and they will in turn work with previously mentioned AFS-USA participant support staff. The participant support staff at AFS-USA is the primary contact for students' parents and or legal guardians, and vice versa. As a parent, if there are any questions, if there are any parents on the call, if you have any concerns, if you have any questions, once your child is on the program, you will be working directly with our participant support department. Before departure, the students and families do receive email guidance with all these contacts, with the emails, who to contact, who to turn to. So you'll have all this information prior to departure, and the students will be receiving the names of their contact person upon arrival to their host country. AFS-USA and each AFS office has a 24/7 emergency line that is available to all students and parents. Parents, guardians should contact AFS-USA at our what we call duty officer line outside of the office hours. During the office hours, you would be connected to support staff, and eventually you would have your own support staff that would work with you as and if needed throughout the process. And for the students in the host country, you should contact your host country duty officer. This is in cases of emergencies, right? At the numbers that you'll be provided. And in the case that the host country duty officer is not available, then you should be contacting AFS-USA duty officer 24/7 line. All this information, all these numbers will be provided to you and your families before departure. And for very short for not very sure, but for our shortest summer programs, 2-week programs that we call Global Prep, the support chain may be slightly different because these programs have a USA chaperone traveling and spending time with the group. So there's this additional layer of support, but there's a slightly different communication chain, and this will be discussed and shared with you in your own Global Prep country-specific webinars that will also be coming up. I know there's a lot going on in the preparation phase. And Carly, back to you.
Yes, so looking at our AFS webinar series, the What's Next, for our webinars, we obviously have scheduled pre-departure webinars, so make sure you register for them. We do have a student learning journey global meetup this Saturday. I believe the time is very early because it is including not just AFSers from the US studying abroad, it's encompassing other AFSers from other countries around the world as a global meetup to get to meet some other people around the world also studying abroad with AFS for this cycle. We do have the Parent and Guardian Program Prep webinar. We offer this webinar for your families, your guardians, as an opportunity to ask some questions, get some answers. That is on Tuesday, May 21st. Then we do have some recommended webinars Your Identity Abroad, we have the Cultural Heritage and Ethnicity webinar on June 6th, and then the LGBTQIA+ webinar on June 4th. We will also be having travel webinars. These will be offered by destination countries. Students are required to attend the webinar for their destination. These generally will take place within 2 weeks of your departure, so make sure you look out for an email, and it will be on your dashboard via notification for your specific travel webinar to register for. We do have a few preparatory activities we include, which is obviously your online student learning journey. This connects AFSers around the world to include intercultural concepts, communication styles, and to better prepare you to navigate the cultural experience that you'll have. As well as AFS volunteers in your community may invite you and your family to participate in a local, virtual or in-person pre-departure orientation. This event will introduce how AFS operates in your local community and often provides the opportunity for you, your parents, your guardians to speak with others who have participated in the AFS program and their family members. Alternatively, you may attend a national virtual pre-departure orientation. And as mentioned, the student learning journey is this framework that will help you achieve AFS learning objectives and in turn to become an active global citizen where you can play an integral part in achieving the mission of AFS. One of the primary methods we use to facilitate this process is that online component of the student learning journey, which encompasses before, during, and after your program. This will include that mandatory online pre-departure orientation, which is a prerequisite course for all AFS participants before they depart the USA. It will obviously cover, the history, mission, rules and expectations, adjusting to life abroad, and then support on program. So that information, those local PDOs will be sent out. Your travel webinars specific to your country will be sent out. Generally, like I said, within 2 weeks before your departure, so make sure you look out for that and register for those. I think that kind of wraps up our webinar today. I want to thank you all for participating and joining us for this webinar. We do have on the slide here some pre-departure contact information. As you know, our general study abroad team email if you have any questions about program questions, that pre-departure information, please feel free to reach out to us. If you have any visa questions, that's the visa email, sendingvisas@afsusa.org. You'll connect with Adriana. If you have any travel or logistic questions, that's afs.sending.travel@afsusa.org. If you have not received your travel notification yet, your international ticket, please note that they won't be able to answer any questions until they get that to you. Orientation questions, you'll reach out to Emily. Her email is there. If you have any student learning journey questions, she can also help you. And then if you have any questions about program fee, finances, or payments, you have our participant finance email there on the screen as well. So these are some great contacts. If you have any additional questions, specific questions, please feel free to reach out to them. But we will answer some questions, stay on for a few minutes to answer any questions that you may have now. You can raise your hand and we'll call on some people, or if you want to send it in the chat, we'll answer that here in the next few minutes. But I want to thank you all for attending this webinar and make sure you're registered for the following webinars. And yeah, we'll stay on for a little bit to answer some questions if you have any.
Great. And I just wanted to add, I see a lot of questions about student learning journey in the chat. So as Carly mentioned, again, please do reach out to our orientations department at the designated email on the slide here. Okay, I'll address, Caleb, your question in a second. Or I just shared a link to also additional information on student learning journey that is on our website with resources for parents and students. And there is also another email that you should be reaching out to get very specific details from our colleagues who are experts and managing all this process when it comes advanced certificate and other aspects of student learning journey beyond the first step in the process. Caleb, all our semester and year programs are a host family stay, and some of our summer programs are host family based, and some are don't based. Can you remind me what program are you going to? If you want to type in the chat.
So when you receive your travel information, there is an attachment that does have your ticket. I do want to note for our year, our shorter summer program, you'll see your departure and your return. For our year, the PDF may have a return flight. That is just a kind of a dummy date being held, just because they can't book your return date right now. It's not available that far out. So you should only look at your departure section, because your return ticket may be returning 2 months after. So please ignore if you do see a return ticket for our year semester programs. That will be updated once the actual return date can be booked. But for our year semester, you will only receive your departure date at this time, because they can't book out that far in advance. So you'll have an attachment of a PDF of your ticket in that travel information email you get.
Again, all information regarding webinar registration, webinar dates, travel information and instructions, and student learning journey will be sent to you by email. So please do keep an eye, continue to keep an eye on your emails. We recognize this may not be preferred means of communication for high schoolers nowadays. However, it is super important that you maintain email communication with AFS. And again, for all specific questions about student learning journey, please do email orientations at elaroca@afsusa.org. That's our colleague, Emily, who can give you specific instructions and the guidelines. Yeah, also program dates and timeline. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I see some questions about CBYX students. If there's any that your tasks may look slightly different from all of our other programs. So if you have specific questions about your next steps, what you're supposed to be submitting, things like that, please reach out to your contact. I believe it's still John at CBYX. So please reach out to cbyx@afsusa.org if you have specific questions about your program and kind of your next step, because it might differ from some of our other programs, since that's the U.S. Department of State program. If there's any other questions, if you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, please feel free to, or you can send in the chat if there are any further questions that anyone has.
Just to clarify, you said if we're doing a year program and when we received our travel information, if our return date was 2 months after the departure date, we should just ignore it?
Yes, so they book it as a round trip because for like visa purposing, a lot of visas are required to show that you'll be returning to your home country and not just staying in the country for an unknown amount of time. So only your departure ticket, which is something that you should keep your eyes on. They will update the return ticket when it is able to be updated, because they can't book out this far in advance. So that's just like the return ticket home to the US is just being held in place for you for like visa purposes and things like that. So it doesn't look like you're going to your country and not knowing when you're returning. So that will be updated by the travel department when it becomes available to them to be able to book that far in advance. So yes, so your
Okay, great.
programs, yeah.
Thank you. And then also with the visas, I was told the visa team would reach out when I should start the process. Is that true, or should I start it now?
We haven't rolled the visa guidance for Norway yet. So you should be receiving in the next couple of weeks. And I would advise that you wait on that guidance before you get started.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kyle.
I do have a question. Is the visa program the same for people who are in CBYX, or is it, completely separate since we're in the State Department program?
All your program management is, big parts of the program management is separate from our flagship programs that are not U.S. State Department sponsored. I wouldn't want to speak for CBYX students, but I can say that for Germany in general, as of now, U.S. citizens do not need to obtain the visa pre-departure. They travel to Germany and then they obtain a residence permit after the arrival to Germany. But again, don't hold me to it. I expect that this will be the case for all U.S. citizens, regardless whether it's at CBYX or so-called AFS flagship program. And of course, for those who hold, maybe it's worth mentioning, who hold citizenship of a different country or have different status but reside in the U.S., the visa guidance will be different. So again, don't hold me to it, but I think this will be the case. You should be receiving guidance from your CBYX contacts, and we would encourage you to reach out to them regardless to inquire.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Carly, thank you for answering the question about the country orientations. I would say for some of the programs, you will be receiving information about in-country orientation after arrival to your host country. It depends on a country. In some countries, there might be orientation right after the arrival. For some host countries, students might be going directly to their host communities and then getting together for an orientation in a few weeks. So it differs.
We had a quick question about returning. We were hoping to actually go over at the end of the exchange and pick up Clara. Does that impact the tickets for departure or anything like that?
It does. We have not for departure, but for return from. So it's very specific. So I would encourage you to email our AFS sending travel at AFS-USA.org. There is a process in place in what we call program release into the hands of the parents. We recognize sometimes the parents would like to pick up the student and have other plans to travel or to visit or to go elsewhere. So there are some regulations that I wouldn't want to give you inaccurate information without having it in front of my eyes around either forfeiting the ticket, or if AFS is changing the ticket on your behalf, additional fees included, etc., if that makes sense in general terms. But yes, if you are having these plans, it would be important for us to know them as soon as possible so we can work with you to organize that. Usually the parents need to sign a program release form and be, depending on the host country regulations, be the ones specifically to pick up the student, especially because we are working with minors.
Can you tell me the address or the email address one more time? I'm sorry.
Right. No, it's right here on the screen if you're having ability to see, but I can dictate that to you. It is
that's perfect.
AFS. period sending period travel at afs.org or afs.sending.travel@afsusa.org. And please do save this this email for any correspondence also related to travel logistics. So it will be helpful moving forward.
I will also just add quickly, there are some programs that like due to visa guidelines, they won't extend the visa stay. Some are limited to that program, and once the program is off, like some are obviously like education based. Because I know, like for example, I know Japan is one where once the program ends, you have to return just because of the visa guidelines in the country. But so it may be specific to each program and country if that's even something able to do with the visa. But travel will definitely be able to help answer that further.
Thank you for mentioning that. That's super important. That's why I think we should look at any of these requests case on case basis and have you email us with details so we can discuss with our hosting partners and see how to go about it and what's possible.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have one. So I noticed on my dashboard that there's a residence permit that I need to fill out or something like that. So is that kind of like a visa too?
So the visa guidance for Sweden has gone out, and you should have received, in addition to AFS dashboard, very extensive visa guidance in an email. So after reviewing those visa guidelines, and if you haven't, I'll be happy to connect with you to direct you to it or resend, because students in line for Sweden should start working on their visas very like immediately because it takes quite some time for visas for Sweden to be processed. And again, not to make this more confusing, for Sweden, it is called a residence permit. So sometimes we use visa as opposed to residence permit interchangeably. But again, this is explained in the very detailed visa guidelines in an email. And let me, I'll check and I'll get back to you to make sure that you received this visa guidance. Once you read through it, I think it will be self-explanatory that what we ask you in your to-do item, we are only asking you to upload your residence permit approval once you receive it. But preceding that task, there is a long visa process that takes place.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
All right, just to let you know, you received visa guidance on May 6th, so look for that email. It was sent to the email that we have on file, which I can share with you individually in the chat. So please look out for that and email us if you haven't received this visa guidance, okay?
Well, if there are no more questions at this time, we'll go ahead and wrap up this webinar. If you do have additional questions that come up now until your departure date, please feel free to use the emails on your screen to reach out, or reach out to your study abroad specialist directly via email or via your AFS dashboard. But yeah, thank you all for participating and staying. And we look forward to seeing you in the next webinars and for your journey abroad. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Have a great rest of your days or evenings. Let us know if there are any questions afterwards by emailing any of these inboxes.
Thank you all.
Thank you.